Alrighty, welcome back to Cinema Pursuit. We're ranking every single episode of The Mandalorian, 24 episodes that we're gonna put on a tier list, going from S tier all the way to D. I don't think we're gonna have a D, but we might have a D. We'll see what happens. But we're with Drake today. Say
What's up,
what's up,
man?
man.
How's everybody?
How do you like The Mandalorian, the show? Like, what does the show mean to you before we
I
get
like
into
it.
it?
I have what I like to call entertainment ADD. So sometimes it takes me a while to finally finish something. Like I'll start it and then I'll put it off. And if it wasn't for you like actually saying, "Hey, we're doing this," I probably wouldn't have like ran through the entire thing again. This is not a knock
Same.
to Mando. I do really enjoy the show. But if it wasn't for us doing this and the movie coming out in like 2 weeks, at least from the time that we're recording this, yeah, I don't think I would have gotten through this very quickly. But I do enjoy the show. I enjoy it a lot.
Because for me, I don't. Same thing. I like if you say like the new Alien movie came out, like Romulus or some franchises coming out. I don't go through and watch
Yeah.
all the movies. I watched Devil Wears Prada. I didn't watch the first one. I'll watch it now, but I don't. Sometimes I don't want to put a bad expectation on that first, that movie. But this time we are watch through the entire series again, and we'll see what happens. So, episode 1, The Mandalorian, directed by Dave Filoni, written by Jon Favreau. A lot of this is, and this was the start of Disney Plus, November 12th. I still remember I was out of the country and I literally was watching. I watched the first 5 minutes of the episode on my phone. And I was like, nah, I can't do this. This is too good to be watching on my phone, man. But what do you think? How did this first episode go for you? Because we're introduced to Mando, what he does. We meet the amazing Carl Weathers. Freaking Werner Herzog is in this.
Yeah.
And by the end, the IG, and we see what this show's about. It's a little Baby Yoda, and we were calling him Baby Yoda for a hot minute.
Oh no,
man.
yeah.
So
I remember watching this when it premiered. Because I did get Disney Plus like right off rip, and I've had it since. And the whole family was watching this in the beginning when it started. And I remember sitting there and we were watching it and we were all like, okay, like this is something different. I like this. I like that it's kind of expanding on the Star Wars universe. And I enjoyed the direction it was going in right away. I was hooked.
as soon as he yanks him and the door closes on the dude's head, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm like, this is the Western sort of vibe. A lot of my complaint is like, why don't you make genre movies or genre stories within franchises? And that's what this is. And my cousin, he actually loves this show the most out of all the Star Wars shows because it's that kind of like lone, cool guy sort of vibe. And he loves that. So, this is his favorite Star Wars show. I've got other favorites, but this is his. So, first episode, where are we putting it?
I mean, I'd like to say A tier, simply because it is like that start off. Like, it isn't the best episode, but it's got to be up there since it is what got us to where we are today with Mando.
Yeah. And I think I love great pilots, but this isn't like one of the best pilot. It is a great pilot, but it's not like this is the one I love and I go back to it and I need to see it, but it is a good pilot. And they do set up so many things and do it so well. And like I told you, I was so surprised to see Filoni's name instead of Favreau's name directing wise. I forgot that Favreau didn't direct till season 2, episode 1. I think it's still the only episode he's directed. So I was completely surprised again when I watched it again. So yeah. That's A. Episode 2, The Child. The first episode, the first live action thing, period. Maybe the first anything Star Wars directed by a black man or a black person in general. And that is Rick Famuyiwa. His name is always hard, but this man, I've been a fan since 2015. He had a movie come out that's called Dope. and he was supposed to make the Flash, like the Flash movie that ended up coming out like late like 20s, but he was the first person who was supposed to direct it. Lord and Miller came on. The guys who made Game Night and Dungeons and Dragons, they came on too, and then Andy ended up directing it finally. But Rick is like, he's one of my favorite directors, period. And to see him directing and writing within this show, which we're going to talk about when we get into it, it is some of my favorite work, period. And if you gave me a list of like people you want to give $100-200 million budget to, I think we have at least 3 or 4 names in this show, directing wise, writing wise. So this episode, it really is just, it is true Star Wars in the sense of like, this man is just he tries to go back to his ship and Jawa steal everything, and then he's got to deal with this beast and fight it. And he and Grogu kind of get into it, and Grogu low-key saves his life. And we see all this stuff going on. It's got the emotion, it's got the action, it's got the very much Star Wars, like a kid, like it's just a bunch of nonsense that he has to deal with to get through the plot. It's funny. This is what Star Wars is to me. And yeah, how did you feel about this one? Where are we putting this one?
I'd probably put a B tier if we're looking at it stacked up against the pilot. I would probably put it B, at least for now, because I don't know if we're gonna kind of shuffle things near the end or if it's gonna be one and done kind of deal.
If we feel like it, but I think I landed the same place where it's like, I'm also like, out of all the episodes even Rick personally has directed, I'm not like, yeah, this is one of my favorites. Yeah. It's not. The other 2, there's 2 other episodes at least, of the 5 I think he directs, that are like my favorite episodes. But this one, it's good. It's coming off the first one. It's doing the right thing, but it's also not like, the best to me. But Chapter 3, on the other hand, Episode 3, yet again, Deborah Chow, first Asian woman to direct in Star Wars, period, at least for a live action. And Chapter 3, The Sin, yet again, Jon Favreau writing it. We get back to Navarro. Mando gives Grogu to Werner Herzog's character, gets his money, does what he does. He upgrades the armor and talk about like all that stuff. We're building up the story, the background with Mando. And he's like, nah, I gotta go get this kid. And he gets the kid, and we figure out that everyone actually cares about him, and the covert of Mandalorians come and save him at the end of the episode, and he pretty much barely escapes the bounty hunters, everyone else, like at Navarro. It's a pretty action-heavy episode by the time we get into it, and I thought this was a great episode. Where are we putting this? Because it ain't a B to me.
No. It's definitely gonna go. I think for me, go A tier.
A tier? Okay.
Yeah, probably.
Because the thing is, like, I understand if, like, maybe the episode's too slow or I don't feel, like, an emotion towards this, but this is what you want. Yep. You want to see that cold-hearted assassin character actually care, actually do the right thing. And he does it, and everyone backs him up. The action, like, at the end, the action right outside, like, the port for the ships, where all the bounty hunters come from him, there's the whole shootout. The Mandos come and they're like sniping people and doing all that stuff. That is still some of the best work they have in the show, like action-wise to me.
Yeah.
So that's an automatic A for me. It's automatic A. Like it's close. I think it's close to an S, but it's not an A. It's not an S to me.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, yeah, I think it's more of an A than S, to be honest with you. I did enjoy.
Because S is, I think we have a few S's.
Yeah, there's a few S's.
I think a good show at least has to have a few S's. I think, like, my favorite shows have S's. If you don't have S's, I'm like, I don't know. Like, those shows that don't, they kind of lack. I ain't gonna lie. That, like, you can just tell that you enjoy the show, but there's not, like, that level of, like, I'm gonna come back to this later, Like, if we sit here and did this for 120 episodes for, like, Psych,
Jesus.
There's a lot of S. There's at least, like, 15, 20 S's at least,
Easily.
Of just, like, because we talked about a lot, but like, shoot, no, we had so much more left in the tank. Chapter 4. Yet again, I think this is the first time another, a Caucasian, a white woman is directed in Star Wars. Live action. Bryce
Oh
Dallas
yeah, she is
Howard. I think she directed Star Wars better than her father did in Solo, you know? And
fair.
this first episode is
Yeah.
Sanctuary. We are introduced to Cara Dune, played by I'm forgetting her name. But the woman who plays
Oh
Cara
yeah,
Dune.
Gina Carano.
I think we
Yeah,
all
yeah,
know her
Gina Carano.
now. Gina Carano. I think she just had some sort of fight
Here
or
soon.
something.
It hasn't happened yet.
But okay. But they go to this village and I swear the casting on this show, I ain't gonna lie. The person they cast to be the woman who's in the village, uh she I'm forgetting her name, but she's an amazing actress. The woman in the village that Mando kind of falls in love with, low key.
Omera? That's her.
Who
Omera,
yeah.
that's her. Okay. It's the
Amira
name of
is
the
like
character.
the
Yeah, it's
character's
Julia
name.
Jones, the
Yeah.
actress.
Julia Jones, yes,
Yeah.
that's her name. And she's been in so many things. Twilight, always been a fan
Yeah.
of hers. And this episode is a great what if. It's a reprieve, that maybe he had a life here, but it's not meant to be. But we have a great story on that end of things. We get so many cute moments with Grogu. And then we have this, the AT-AT coming in and they're trying to save the village and all this sort of stuff. It's so
It's so
of
Star Wars.
itself, but it's also so Star Wars at the
It's
same
so Star
time.
Wars.
I do want to touch on Cara Dune,
Yeah.
Gina Carano. Like, I do want to say this is Gina's best role to date. This is what good casting is. Like Soderbergh's Haywire, I've seen it at least 5 to 10 times. I really enjoy that movie where most people probably didn't, but it's like my type of spy movie. And Gina's great in that, but she's better in this because I think John kind of wrote for her and he understood that this sort of character, how do you play this character? How do you cast that character? And how do you develop that character throughout the story? And they even wanted to have a spinoff for her and all that sort of stuff. And obviously we don't support what Gina was saying, in real life, but game's got to recognize game. You just get these people. Yes, there's plenty of terrible people who have done great work and they continue to do work. We just probably don't know that they're terrible people,
I mean, it could have been worse.
Like I've told you offline about some people where like they're just terrible to the people that they work with. Like other people have great experiences with them, but when they're working, they're not fun to work with. I will say, Jon Favreau, we're talking about Mando. From the set of Mandalorian, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni. These are quiet guys, zoned in, doing their work, kind people. And that's the sort of people we want to talk about and, commend their work. I was watching Chef last night, like Jon Favreau's Chef. I was watching it for the 15th time. And me and my dad were talking about it. I was like, it's one hell of a zig to go from making Iron Man and doing all these big movies to this smaller indie movie. And even then, he changed a lot of things with Chef, that movie. So, yeah, like he knows how to hit the culture. And this character of Cara Dune, of even Julie Jones's character, Mando, Grogu. I think Grogu is still one of the greatest inventions of character they've had this century when it comes to this franchise, because the fact is you got to sell toys.
Yeah.
And that's always been a thing with Star Wars. And I would be lying if I said I didn't buy Grogu cereal, Grogu fruit snacks. I literally have a, what do you call them? I have a magnet for like a chip clip magnet with Grogu on it. Like, I don't mean to be that guy, but I've always loved Yoda. And this is just like a little bit more of that.
Yeah, you're kind of opening up a little bit of the lore of where Yoda comes from. And
and the aging. Because like as a kid, we were like me and my friends, we always talked about how like Yoda's like 500 something years old. But where do we want to put Chapter 4 then?
Chapter 4 doesn't necessarily stand out to me in like a big way.
Yeah.
I'd probably put it maybe C tier.
No, we put it B. We put B.
Like, okay, well, we got to put something C tier.
Or wait for it.
I mean, yes, pretty much the entirety of season 3 will be there, but
wait, which season?
Season 3.
Oh, okay. We'll see. But I'm putting B because I'll add to positivity. I think it's a good episode. It's another super Star Wars episode. in a good way. And I think Bryce did a great job with it. And, compare it to, because the story's there,
Right.
It's one of those one-off episodes where it's like, oh, this is a different episode of season 1. It's kind of not plot relevant, but it kind of is. And we're moving the story across, but we're also having a lot of fun with it. And I love those sorts of episodes because compare it to the episode in season 3 that Bryce directs, that, the Jack Black episode.
Oh, yeah. That one's definitely
big difference, right?
C or D tier.
So, speaking of C or D, chapter 5, The Gunslinger. We end up on Tatooine, of all places. We meet Peli Motto, played by the amazing Amy Sedaris, who is also she plays the assistant for James Caan in Elf. So she's got a history with John. I didn't know this. But yeah, this is the first live action thing written and directed by Dave Filoni. He's done so much animated work, but this is his first real, written and directed baby. And this episode, we meet a wet behind the ears, like aspiring assassin, bounty hunter, Toro Calican. He's played by Bobby Cannavale's son. Bobby was also in Chef. And I don't mean to roast his son. I don't know him like that, but I think he was just cast in this role. And Fennec Shand, the amazing Ming Na Wen, literal princess. She's Mulan. Amazing actress. But she's great in the episode. There's some good stuff in here, but I mean, where is it for you? Because for me, this one, it didn't land for me, honestly. The CG doesn't feel really good in this episode. You really feel the element of like shooting in the volume in this episode. And it just feels like a waste of time to me in a sense.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a plot sense, but just emotionally, it felt like I didn't really get too much out of here. Besides, Peli being funny. That's about it.
Yeah, I think it kind of sits more of a C tier for sure. If we were gonna put it,
you tell me, because I'm fine with both.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down to put this one C tier, and it'll probably be at the bottom of C tier by the end of it. But yeah, it's definitely gonna be C tier.
It's down there. And for a show that doesn't really, for me, doesn't have a lot of C tier for me, this is one of those that like, it's just the narrative deserves it. And it's I really truly think it's one casting like decision that really made it a problem. Because he comes off as like a Gen Z, in a bad way. And as like Zillennials ourselves, we're not talking down to Gen Z. It's just this kid, he has charisma, but it's not the charisma you want. This guy, you want to punch him in the face. You don't feel bad for him, in a sense. Let's say you recast that role as, did you watch Now You See Me 3?
Yeah.
You've seen him in some other stuff too. But the kid that's in Dungeons and Dragons also? Like the older guy? Justice Smith, if I remember his name. Imagine Justice Smith in that same role as like the wet behind the ears, like, bounty hunter. I think you would have done better. But you understand what I mean? You want someone like that rather than someone who thinks he's cool. And you can't think that you're cool. You just have to be cool. And that's what, like the Harrison Ford, Robert Redford, Brad Pitt, like that's that thing. And the kid didn't have it. That's all it was, So it is what it is, but I just didn't vibe with it.
Yeah.
Okay. So going from the ultimate negativity, let's go to the ultimate positive.
Yeah, let me take this
Chapter
one.
6.
Let me take this one.
Go ahead.
So this is probably one of my favorite episodes of the series. I had heard that Mr. Billy Boy was going to be involved. Bill Burr was going to be involved. And as a big Bill Burr fan, I was pretty excited about that. He was very against acting. I think prior to this, the only acting thing that he had done was him as himself in the show Crashing. And, he just played himself. He didn't have to play another character. This time around, this is not something that you would expect from a comedian, and a lot of comedians try to act, and they're not necessarily great at it. Bill is actually very good. He probably...
Bill is amazing.
He won't admit
Between
it.
this episode and that back episode, there's like I told you about Reservation Dogs. I'm being serious. I think he at least got nominated for an Emmy, but he was so amazing in his one episode. And he's a little, you know what role he's playing? He's playing a driver's ed teacher in
Yeah,
this
that makes
show.
sense.
A random character, but the writing, Sterling Harjo, like what he did with that show, the emotion of it, the acting itself. What Bill does is he feels alive. He feels like a real person. And I mean that in the sense of what he looks like, what he acts like. He's unapologetically a
Yeah.
human. You know, a human is flawed. A human isn't perfect, you know? And we live in a time where a lot of people seem to be more and more perfect in a sense. And that's not what it is,
Yeah.
you know? And he feels like he's out of the 70s when it comes to his acting. His acting is that
Yeah.
great in this show. And Mayfeld is amazing, man. He really
Not only
is.
that, we have some other heavy hitters in this episode.
Bro.
We've got Clancy
Bro.
Brown. We've got my boy.
The man, who is he? Mr. Krabs
Yeah,
himself?
he is Mr. Krabs. We've got my boy Richard
but he's so
Iowati
good. Yeah, as a robot.
Zero. Yep. We've got Carl Weathers. Like, we've got so many, big.
I'm going to get into Carl. You know, Carl has passed away now.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that he's in the show. He was directing on the show because I don't think Carl ever got his credit, you know? Like, in the sense that, like, why do I love Creed? Because I love Rocky. I love Apollo so much in those stories. And in Rocky 4, when he dies, the reason why Rocky 4 is so good is because you killed him. And you feel that. And you feel the revenge for that. And then you feel it even more in Creed 2, in my opinion. People don't talk about Creed 2 enough. I thought the story there is great. I thought, the legacy of his character is just something to do, something to behold. And go to, like, freaking Commando, talk about, what do you call it, Happy Gilmore. The man did everything under the sun, he's funny, he's got the action, he's got the charisma, So Carl Weathers, big ups. But the last person for this episode, the lady that plays the Twi'lek, she plays Tonks in the Harry Potter movies, and even she is just, like, so effortlessly charismatic, so frankly disgusting in a sense, like, you kind of hate her, but, like, she's kind of cool, and that's, like, she hits the tone so perfectly with that character that she's
You talking about Natalia?
But this episode,
Natalia Tina?
yeah, the only woman in the episode. And the guy who plays the guard that they kill or try to kill, he is the voice of Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars. So he's actually one of the biggest character out of all of them, but, like, everyone is so good in this episode. We're in a set pretty much the entire episode, and the vibe of this episode is same thing as 4. It doesn't feel like it's of the show. It feels like we're watching a chapter of Mando's life before, and we have such a great time with this episode. And by the end of the episode, the great thing is they have the X-Wings that come through. And it's like, it's Dave Filoni, it's Rick Famuyiwa, it's Deb Chow, and then one actor, like, they just come in and they just, they rip everything to pieces, like, okay, we'll clean this up real quick. And I'm just like, yes. This is S tier.
Easy.
I'm not even asking.
No,
this is
easy.
S tier. This is
S-tier.
like, this is why we watch the show, and this is what we need more of, in a sense. We want to have great character moments within these stories, but they have to be fun. Like, I was listening to Pat and Tony talk yesterday. They're doing Superbad. And he's like, yo, we've done too many serious episodes on this pod. I'm like, yeah, but, like, I love the serious episodes, but we do serious fun movies, man. That's all. But chapter 7.
Oh, man.
Deb Chow back directing, Jon Favreau. This is The Reckoning. And in memory, I was like, yeah, this episode's probably not that hot. But there's a literal dragon in this episode. And all this stuff. Like, they get back to Navarro, and the Western feeling of this episode is off the chain for me. I thought that this episode, it's the first half of, like, we get there, we know what's going on, everything goes awry, everything's going bad. And there's so much fun about everything going wrong. And we reveal finally that the man himself, Giancarlo Esposito, is Moff Gideon. He's actually the bad guy. And there's something going on here, and they line up all the dark troopers, and they might die, and literally Queel dies at the end of the episode, right? It's like killing Dobby, and they take the child, and it's this is what you mean by this is like How do you execute a plot? How do you have this? Like, sometimes you watch a finale and you're like, that's it? No, we don't have that. Between 7 and 8, you have a full packed feast finale. What do you think of this
I
episode,
love
man?
this episode. Just for the introduction of Giancarlo Esposito as
Yeah.
Moff Gideon alone, I'm like, hell yeah, dude. I'm like that's
Because
telling.
I didn't
I
expect
didn't
it.
either.
I didn't
I didn't
expect
know
this
he was
this
going
great
to
of an
be.
actor to come
I
and
didn't know
play.
he was going to be in the show at all.
Same.
So whenever he did show up, I was like, this is what we need. And he came in, he killed it as per usual. Go figure. And yeah, it was a fantastic episode. It was a great way to get me kind of, I wouldn't say back into, like, go through some of these drudges that we had with some of the other episodes, but then to get this to be like, oh, okay, this is where this is going. Like, it felt like this should have been the season finale to the first season to me. But
I think 7 and 8 play
they
together
do
for me.
play
Where
together.
are we putting this one first?
I would put it A tier, top of A, probably.
Okay. There we go. I put it
Because I
at
wouldn't
top of
go
A.
S tier for this one, but I would put it top of A.
Low-key, looking at it, I kind of want to put Mando the first episode in
I
B
do too.
now. I'm
Yeah,
not
no,
lying.
that's why I thought, we should at least wait before we finalize all the
Okay.
episodes.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll come back to it. But okay, a reason why I wanted this ask is Taika Waititi comes back as IG-11, and the part of this story that's very like iRobot classic, like
Asimov.
hero story. It's like that distrust of the machines. Terminator 2. It's something I love. And we have that instilled within Mando since he was a kid, because he almost got killed by a droid when he almost died as a kid before he became a foundling. And now we have a robot who has the life of Grogu in his hands. What's going to happen now, right? And Taika's directing Chapter 8, Redemption. Perfect name for this episode. Taika directing, John writing. We obviously have all the action happen with all of the Dark Troopers. IG straight marks everybody. We rescue the child, and low-key, like, we go underground. We don't know what's happening. We figure out that they've actually decimated a lot of the Mandos that lived on Navarro. And it is heartbreaking, but the armorer's like, nah, y'all gotta go. I'm gonna keep up with this. And, we get a little bit of action with the armorer. And I think Emily Swallow, if I remember right,
That's
her name. I think
plays the armor.
that's some great casting. Sometimes there's certain people where you don't see them for a majority of their career, but when they hit, you're just like, how have I not seen this person in anything else? And Emily is one of those people, and the casting is amazing, and she continues through the show to be such a figure in a great way. So we end up, they take a underground lava ferry essentially outside, and they end up getting saved, and IG dies. He sacrifices himself, right? There's a redemption within all of that, but a TIE fighter comes out of nowhere. Moff Gideon ain't just this is what I love about Moff Gideon. We have a lot of like Imperials, they wear the uniforms and they're scared of Vader, and Moff Gideon's a different character. He's about that life, and he tries to murk them. He tries to, deal with them, but Mando uses a jetpack, gets the TIE fighter out of the sky. We essentially end in good light with the whole season itself, that Grogu and Mando are united. They're doing their own thing, but we see that Gideon survives. And what does he have in his hand?
Darksaber.
None other than the Darksaber. And when I tell you, this is how you end a season right here, right? You gotta leave them wanting more. And if anybody has watched Rebels and Rebels, Clone Wars, and the saga of the Darksaber itself, and to say that this random guy, which he's a random guy to me, Imperials are that to me, they're little cogs in the machine of, doing wrong in this world. And he has it. And it's like, what are we going to do now, right? And they set up a great story for season 2, the other seasons. So where does this go for you? What are your thoughts on this? That's the second half of the finale
Yeah.
for me. What is it for you?
Well, the Sudeikis Easter egg definitely helps.
Oh yeah, what?
Um,
What's it?
it,
And I think this is like right before or right around Ted
Yeah.
Lasso too, so it like kind of adds
yeah,
up
it
to
was
it.
like right around the time that it premiered because it was what 2019 during this time. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
around the time that it premiered. But yeah, that helps a little bit. I think it would go below. Let's put it at the bottom of A for right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. That'll work for
Bottom
me.
of A.
That works.
That's where I'll put it.
So that wraps up season 1, and now going into season 2, you know, the hype is up.
Mhm.
But he didn't want to drop us into the story right away, you
Yeah.
know? And that's the thing about Star Wars, you got to have some fun. And this first episode is too much fun to me. It is chapter 9, The Marshal. Directed and written by Jon Favreau for the first time, or the only time during this entire series besides the movie coming out. And this is Mando having the task of now having to return this child to his people. And who are his people? Not Yoda's, but the Jedi. And how do we find Jedi? And he spends his time trying to find the Jedi, finding more Mandos, and he's back on Tatooine and goes to Mos Pelgos, finds a Mando, but he takes off his helmet, right? And it's no other than Cobb Vanth, played by the guy who never gets his credit, Timothy Oliphant. And, you know, we're dealing with this crate dragon. They literally go into IMAX frame for the episode, dealing with the crate dragon, this action and all that. And we end up seeing him, you know, go off with all this armor. He doesn't know whose armor this is, but it's Mandalorian armor. And all of us already know whose it is. It's Boba Fett's, and we see Boba Fett sitting there watching him drive off on a speeder. And we deal with that later this season, but what is it for you for this episode? I think this is one of not my favorite episodes, but this is just like, this is pure Mando.
Yeah, it's not one of my favorites. It is a lot of fun. I really liked this episode. I liked that they got Oliphant involved.
Yeah.
I think that I'm probably going to put this in B tier.
Okay.
I'm
at A. We'll meet at B today.
Yeah, probably top of B tier.
I think,
but
yeah, it is. I agree with that. It's got to be, let's say, like an 8.5 in a sense, or an 8.7. Yeah. So that's where it goes. But right into 10, which is, I think, this is one of the more controversial episodes of the show, which is episode 2 of season 2. It's chapter 10, The Passenger.
Oh,
this is directed by Peyton.
Spider episode, ain't it?
So this episode, Peyton Reed, this is the guy who directed Bring It On, Ant-Man 1, 2, 3. We'll get into it at the end of the season, but this episode is very much just Mando. He's helping this frog lady get her eggs to a different place, and she's, you know, trying to mate, and this is, you know, the only chance she's got. And was eating the babies, which is a whole funny kind of messed up thing the whole episode. But we end up there's X-Wings, you know, we have a return of some characters, and the X-Wings kind of chase him down, and he tries to hide in an icy planet, and the ice literally drops from under him, and they get trapped in a place full of a bunch of scary looking spiders.
I hated that part.
I loved it. I love this because it's so disgusting.
Oh no, it is disgusting. It made me feel something. Not in a good way, but I hated it. I did not know until just now that Dee Bradley Baker was the frog lady, and that makes me so happy.
Yeah,
because I love Dee Bradley Baker.
It's the same lady. It's the same lady who played Queel in the first episode. I'm pretty sure she's doing the woman's acting itself. Yeah. We didn't even talk about Queel real quick. Queel, Nick Nolte, amazing in that first season as the voice acting. And then the woman who playing him, she did a great job too. But Queel is like one of those like low key, like we need more characters like this.
Yeah, I didn't know that
I've spoken.
Dee did the voice though of that frog lady. I was like, oh yeah dude. Oh yeah, it was Misty Rose.
But it's, you know, it's Filoni. Filoni's there, so it's like Dee's already in the recording studio for Bad Batch essentially at this point. So he's already doing 5 voices for that. What's one more, you know?
Might as well add to it.
So yeah, we see the Razor Crest in the worst condition it's ever been in, and all this stuff happens. They barely take off and barely escape, you know, and they realize we see the shift of the characters of the New Republic soldiers essentially, and they're like, oh yeah, like you're a good
Mhm.
guy, whether we agree with it or not, you are a good guy, and out here in the outskirts, the outer rim, we kind of gotta deal with who we gotta deal with, and we like
Yeah.
you. So they get out of there. Where are we putting this episode? Because it smashes right into the next episode of me. So this one, I gotta put it at A. I ain't
Really?
gonna lie. This is
I mean,
legit.
if anything, I would
It's
put a
either A or
bottom of
B.
A, if anything.
Okay, I'll put it at bottom
Mostly
A.
because
That
I
sounds
just
good.
hated the spiders.
But see, that's the thing. I think people, they saw this episode, and whenever it came out, I remember people being like, "Hey, like, why is this episode like it's just filler?" And I'm like, "This is not filler. We're introducing more characters, with the X-wing stuff, but we're getting like such a fun moment, a fun thing happening with this planet, and it's not like it goes by so fast to me. I think they did a great job with this episode, and it's kind of a sleeper
Well,
episode.
you're not
to
even
me.
getting that. You're
So-
also getting like a little bit more of the dynamic between Mando and Grogu. Like you're getting more of that fatherly dynamic from Mando, where you didn't have.
reprimanding him.
You didn't really see a lot of that, but you see like this fatherly relationship kind of form between him and Grogu even more in that episode than you do in any of the prior episodes. And I think they obviously, did that either to finally start that kind of that relationship between the two of them, or it was kind of nice to see that they finally had a bit of a relationship like that.
Yeah. And on top of that, we go right into the next episode. This is chapter 11, The Heiress, directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, written by Jon Favreau. And they get to the planet Trask, and they're like, "Oh yeah, where's the Mandos at?" And there's a fisherman like, "Oh yeah, I know where they are. Oh, we'll take them to you." And they're on a fishing boat, and I swear to God, the CG in this scene, the water looks so real to me. They did a fantastic job in this episode in terms of the actual world and the CG and the production design in this episode.
Mhm.
But they get ambushed. They try to take Grogu, and they try to murder Din.
Yep.
And lo and behold, the queen herself, Bo-Katan Kryze, comes and saves them. And of course, he's surprised that these people are taking off their helmets. But we also get to finally know why. Why is it this is the way? Who are these people? Who are the foundlings? We get to know that this is kind of a faction that's like in the old tradition of the Mandalorians and Mandalore, even though Bo is pretty much the leader of Mandalore. And she is trying to do her part in trying to, chip away at these people, these Imperials that are still around. And we get some good action there. I forgot the actor's name, but he plays Bosch in the show Bosch on Amazon. Titus Welliver.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Deep pull. Randomly in this episode, delivers the role and leaves. But we get some great action in this episode. And Mando gets the advice from Bo that, hey, I know a Jedi, let's set up a meeting. And we have that meeting obviously in the next episode. But how is this episode for you? I think this is another saucy episode.
Yeah, I think it's great. I don't know where would I put it. I mean, if I were to put it anywhere, it'd probably be B tier. But I do like this episode. I like that we finally get introduced to Bo-Katan. I think this is the first episode that we get introduced to Bo-Katan.
Yeah. And this is Bo-Katan. Katie Sackhoff played her in the series, and she actually brought her to life in the live action form. That's not what happened with Ahsoka for a number of reasons, but to see Katie playing this and playing it so well, like, are you kidding me? She's so good in this.
It didn't happen in Ahsoka.
There's a couple things. We'll talk about that later, because I don't want, when it comes to Star Wars and opinions and things like that, that's a very specific story where I'm like, I love Ashley Eckstein, and she's amazing as Ahsoka, and she is Ahsoka to me still to this day. But I understand why they were trying to use Rosario instead. But I think there's a heart that Ashley has that Rosario doesn't have in her show in season 1 of Ahsoka, and in this. I think she does a good job, but it's not there's an intimacy to Ashley's voice acting that it just isn't there. So that's a whole other thing. But yeah, we're finally in episode 4. We are supposed to go, to Ahsoka, but we don't go to Ahsoka. We have another like quick
Yeah, I was about to say we
episode.
have a couple.
And this episode, I love this episode. Chapter 12, The Siege, directed by Carl Weathers
Yep.
himself. And we get back to Navarro in this episode. Cara Dune. She's actually kind of the marshal in her town. And Navarro, and Grief is, essentially a chancellor again. He's actually respecting the town, and we see things getting better. The Razor Crest is, barely getting repaired. And while that's happening, we figure out that there's an Imperial base there on Navarro, and it's like, let's go wrap this up real quick. And this episode is just 70s, 80s action fun to me.
Oh, yeah.
It's got the funny moments of the space macaroons with Grogu, but we also just have enough fun action in this episode. And we end up seeing that, Moff Gideon gets a tracker on the Razor Crest, but this episode, we just have a really fun time with it. And that's what I think. Yet again, this is a quintessential Mando episode to me. What's up for you?
No, it's probably going to be like mid A tier. This is another one where not only do we have a lot of fun with it, we have a lot of cool people that are involved. You've got Giancarlo, you've got Gina Carano, Carl Weathers, you've got Kitty O'Brien making a little appearance. You've got Paul Song Hwang Lee. He was also in, I can't remember what else he was in, but he's been on a lot of stuff. But he was also in it for like a little bit. He was in, what is it called? Is it Kim's Convenience? That's what it was. He was in that for a while.
Oh yeah, he's the main TIE fighter. Like he's the main.
Yeah, he was in it. Yeah, it's a fun episode.
Or sorry, he's the main Republic like X-wing.
Yeah, he's
pilot.
Also Uncle Iroh in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of really good
cool
stuff.
Guy.
And to see him also kind of in the show is really cool too.
But this I put it up in there. This is the episode though, right here, Chapter 13, The Jedi, directed, written by Dave Filoni. This is kind of what we were waiting for, and we find Grogu. We find Ahsoka essentially just sitting in the middle of the forest, essentially, and we have a situation there at that planet where this character Morgan Elsbeth, which we find out later that she's like a dark witch and all this sort of stuff. If you played the Fallen Order game, Jedi Fallen Order, there's a bit of stuff there. But we essentially are ridding this small town of some stuff going on, and Michael Biehn, who is one of the iconic characters, he plays John Reese in or Michael, whatever. He plays the dad in Terminator.
Oh yeah.
And Reese recently rewatched Terminator for the commentary pod whenever we did the Jim Cameron director series, and I just cannot get over how good he's in that, how good he's in Aliens. And he comes in this episode as like the number 2 bad guy, and he is just impeccable in this episode. The action is great. The confrontation between Morgan Elsbeth and Ahsoka is so samurai, and it's so much, it feels like George, like the person who understood George's work the most is Dave, and this is Dave writing in the same vein that George was writing in.
Well, George also wrote on
we
this.
do know that, low-key, because I think he was there on set for this one, and there's a photo of him literally holding Grogu. So
no, he's credited as one of the writers for this episode.
Is he? I think it might be from character because of Ahsoka. He's not like the actual writer per se for the story, not like the WGA credit essentially. Gotcha. But nah, it's. I think, where are we putting this one?
It'll be up there because it does have like that really cool samurai feel to it. I really loved that. I think it'll be like probably closer to the top of it. I don't think I want to put it over the Moff Gideon reveal,
Reckoning,
but probably like right there. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that'll be it.
Because it's like, it is the first time we see Ahsoka. We see the white lightsabers, and
sick.
We have fun with it. I love it. So on to the next one. I'm gonna fight you on this one though.
Okay.
This is Chapter 14, The Tragedy, directed by one, the only. How did he get this man to do this? Robert Rodriguez. And I know the story of this episode a bit, and the thing is, John kind of came to him and gave him essentially a 14-minute script. And usually 14 minutes means a 14 or maybe 17 minutes, but it's like that's how many pages he gave him. It's a 30-minute episode. And this is one of the most artistic episodes of the show because the visual and directing and the story, like the way that this plays out, is pretty much in Robert Rodriguez's hands. This is the first time they actually left LA essentially to make an episode. And all of those elements put together, fighting dark troopers, Boba Fett comes and he doesn't even have a pistol. He doesn't have anything to shoot with. This man is just murking people. Fennec Shand off the hook, you know? And we have so much that happens in this episode. You know, at the end, we also break out Bill Burr, like Mayfeld, gets broke, like we go and rescue him. But there's so much in this episode that happens, even though, you know, the plot is thin, but like the action, the quality of work here is just unparalleled to me. And the character of the show is this to me.
Yeah. And a lot of the drama in this episode is like palpable. Like a lot of the feeling of it is very palpable, which is why I like this episode so much. If I were to put it anywhere, it would probably be either mid A or top B. It would just kind of be in that range.
I'll put it mid A, but like this is truly like one of my favorite episodes. That's for sure. Because I didn't expect it's one of those things where you don't expect it, and then I
think that's also the first episode that Fennec is in. Yeah, that Ming-Na Wen is in as Fennec.
Who's second episode? She's in episode 5, but the effect of you want to feel of Fennec as a character, you don't feel it till this episode. You know, even though I think she's great in episode 5, that first episode, but like in the first season, but you don't like. Like I told you, there's just something off there, and it wasn't her fault. And
a little bit in that first episode, that's how I kind of forgot that she was in it, because Ming-Na Wen, for those who don't know, she is a badass. She was like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
quintessential.
Like she's one of those
love her in that show.
She's great. If you have Ming-Na Wen, you want to be able to use her to her full abilities, and they didn't really do that in the first.
And they finally
episode,
did this
but they
episode.
did in this one, yeah.
And episode 7, season 2, chapter 15, The Believer, written, directed by Rick Famuyiwa. This is top tier for me. You know, I think season 2 is my favorite season, and this episode smashes right from the last one. That they go and get Mayfeld, and they essentially are on this planet trying to figure out what's going on, and they have to go into the Imperial facility essentially undercover. And of course, you know, things go sideways, they get chased out, but there's a scene in the middle of all that, you know, Din actually removes his helmet for the first time, and, you know, all to save Grogu, you know, and we understand why he does that. But the main part of this is that Mayfeld is an ex-Imperial sharpshooter, and the guy who plays the general himself, he plays Joe Chill in Batman Begins, also great actor. But we see...
That's who it is.
Yeah. And we see such a crazy thing happen here where Mayfeld is, at first, you know, episode 6, The Prisoner, he seems like he's one thing, but he's so much more than that. And we see what Star Wars expressed is in this scene, you know? And these are the moments you build up to in characters, and the way he's like y'all don't understand, like, and Bill sells the character. Like, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about how good Bill is in this episode. And it's just like, none of it matters. Like, you need to understand who you're talking to, right? And that these are literal war criminals he's talking to, and he does what he has to do in that scene. And obviously, you know, the action after it, you know, I think this episode is so much fun. Yeah. But we get one of the greatest, like, emotional punches of the entire show in this episode, in my opinion. So this is S tier.
Oh yeah, 100%. This is easy S tier.
And you know what the crazy thing is? This is just like the other S tier episode. This is Rick.
Yeah, it's also Bill Burr. Not only that, like, I had a feeling of like Inglourious Bastards from this episode.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
that scene of them
Yeah,
at the table
yeah.
was very Inglorious Bastard-esque, and I was like, "Oh, this is great. This is fantastic."
That's such a good comparison because that's like, you know, the three, in if
Yep.
anybody's watching, you'll see me doing the
Yeah.
three. But it's such a character driven, perfect climactic moment. And I'm like the first person who hates drama in a sense. Like I don't like dramas because they don't have enough sauce for me at times. And this is one of those like, just this is a dramatic moment of characters. And yeah, there's action that happens before and after, but the action that's happening here with Bill Burr's character is something else.
Yes.
So yeah, it's one of my favorite episodes, my favorite things from Star Wars period. So and so is the prisoner episode is up there too. So yeah, easiest here. And we wrap up the season with Peyton Reed coming back to direct, and we Pershing. We have these machine troopers and Boba Fett's there, Fennec's there. We have essentially like all the Avengers are assembled of the show, all the drama's happening this episode, right? And things are going bad, man. We fight, Mando ends up fighting Moff Gideon, and the action is good there.
Yeah.
I thought that Giancarlo, like he leaned
Yeah.
into it, and I think that fight is great. And whenever this season was airing, they're like there's a Jedi. There's someone we know narrative wise that there's a different Jedi that's gonna take Grogu. We don't know who it is, and people are like, I forgot his name. He has like a mask. He apparently died in the at the end of Revenge of the Sith, essentially that time, Order 66. But we're like, oh yeah, he's coming. And I'm like, is that really who's gonna come? I think there's somebody else. There's gotta be somebody else. Who's it gonna be, right? And you think about it so much, but we didn't realize it till we watched it that it's Luke himself that shows up and gets Grogu, and we're like, why don't we put 1+1 together? And this is one of the coolest finales that you could possibly have, and Din and Grogu having such an emotional moment at the end of it. Obviously, R2D2's in there somewhere, but like we have such a great moment, with these characters, and this is, to me, this is the actual finale for the show itself.
Yeah.
Like we get more with the second, with the third season, which is kind of obviously a continuation, but like this is like the cherry on top. This is blow out the candles. We end here so well in the story of like this is Empire Strikes Back in the narrative wise, So, and this is what we all mostly enjoy the most. So, I mean, the post-credit scene we do see, Bib Fortuna gets murdered. Boba Fett becomes king. The Boba Fett show happens from here. But what do you think about this finale?
I like
man?
this finale. I'd probably put it top of A or at least bottom of S.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go any lower or higher than that. But
no.
Yeah, I think this is a really good finale. It's just a shame where it went after.
Yeah. And no, let's get into it, man. Because where do you see? And I think that's the thing about certain things. It's like, where do you go from here?
Yeah, it's like they peaked and then just
this
fell
is
off.
it. This is, and the thing is, Return of the Jedi very much in the same sense. Where Return of the Jedi is so much fun. It's good. You want to watch it, but is it the best? Yeah. Gaten Matarazzo thinks so. That's about it. But Rick Famuyiwa directing season 3, episode 1, chapter 17, The Apostate. And we're getting a lot more of the convert essentially. And there's some good action in this first episode. They're fighting this like big dinosaur turtle thing in the water, and they barely save the kid out of the water, and they're essentially setting up going to Mandalore finally. And I didn't expect him to go to Mandalore. We see Bo-Katan, in her palace, essentially. Yeah. And we figure out all this stuff with the Darksaber, what's happening with it. And the fact that Mando Din won the Darksaber over last season at the end with Moff Gideon puts Bo at a very bad place, in the culture. And we play all that out. And I honestly really enjoy that stuff, But the way they did it, not
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's some execution issues with some of the stuff, you know, because, you know, that episode with Jack Black kind of sets it out of tone, because the back end of that episode, I think the back end of the episode, when we finally get to the plot of it, is good. But the world itself that we were going to was almost too kid show.
Mhm.
It was almost too Rebels, even though I love
Yeah.
Rebels. But yeah, I think they understood that you know, they kind of gotta move away from that. Where are we putting the Apostate?
Probably C. Probably
Okay.
top of C.
Top of C. Okay, that'll work. I'll fight for the ones I like. I'll put it that way. This episode right here, chapter 18, The Mines of Mandalore. This is, if you don't know, this is directed by Rachel Morrison. Rachel Morrison directed The Fire Inside that recently came out. She is the DP of Fruitvale Station, of Black Panther, and there's no Autumn Gerald Archipel winning an Oscar if there's no Rachel Morrison, you know? And Rachel she very much like brother-sister relationship with Ryan Coogler. And to see her finally directing, I remember this episode be like, she's finally directing something. I'm so happy for her. And for it to be this episode, I don't know if you remember the memes of like Tokyo Drift playing and like of Grogu like chasing. I think this is a fun episode. We get a lot going on here. Obviously not blowing your head off, but like this is a fun episode.
It's definitely a fun episode, especially between Grogu and what's her name back on the
Bo-Katan.
Yeah. Well, no, not Bo-Katan, but the one who's taking care of the ship.
Peli Motto. Yeah.
Them playing off of each other is a lot of fun.
Amy Sedaris,
yeah, that's a lot of fun in this episode. I would probably put this kind of closer to B, mid B, maybe. Yeah, I wouldn't go too high.
Nah, that's reasonable
on this one.
That's reasonable. There we go.
Because it is a lot of fun.
Perfect.
But it's not like the best of what Mando has to offer.
Yeah, no, but I was proud. Mainly for me, I was just proud of Rachel. And I think visually, if you watch this episode, it is one of their best episodes in terms of moving the camera and how they move the camera. So, you know, that's perfect. That'll work for me. This coming episode, chapter 19, The Convert. Actually, let me roll it back real quick. I think Rachel is the first lesbian person to direct a show, or direct any Star Wars. So, big W for that too. Yeah. So, chapter 19, The Convert, directed by Lee Isaac Chung, who is the first, Asian man to direct in Star Wars live action. First episode that Jon Favreau has a co-writing credit for outside of Dave. It's Noah Clure, who's kind of his like protege of some sort. But this episode, Din is kind of like recovering and there's some stuff going on. And there's a lot of, we get our Katie O'Brien's character. We get a lot with her, Dr. Pershing. There's some stuff going on, but what do you think about this episode, honestly?
It's okay.
Okay.
It's not.
I don't really.
It's not the best. I don't know why we spent so much time on Cushing.
Yeah.
I felt like we spent too much time on Cushing a little bit.
Because I understand if there's like a reason behind it, and sometimes you watch an episode and you're like, oh, that's why. It's like what. It's like watching Rogue One and being like, oh, like, let's say you didn't know, right? But it's like, this is all them. This is all their sacrifices. And this is why, we end up with the beginning of New Hope. There's something beautiful about that.
I was kind of hoping that if we were going to spend that much time on Pershing, there would be a bit more of a payoff later on down the road. And I don't feel like we got that.
100% agree. Where are we putting this one?
Bottom of C?
Bottom of C. I still think it's better than the Gunslinger. Yeah, I'll leave it there for now. I'll leave it right there where you said. Okay, that's right. Okay, the next episode, chapter 20, The Foundling. Carl Weathers back again. Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni co-writing on this one. We get a bit of the training of Grogu. We get, you know, that little guy, Luke is back in this episode. You know that one fella,
Mhm.
right? We might like him a little bit, but of Ragnar, Vizsla, there's some stuff going on with the other clan members, and there's some drama going on this episode. But we do see like Grogu having a vision of like a Jedi temple burning, and that's kind of a like, and even in Rebels, Ezra, he gets visions of things happening, and this is something that they, they give a lot of heed to, and there's some stuff going on
Mhm.
here, but yet again, it's not blowing my mind, but we do have fun with this
Yeah,
episode.
I think the only thing that really saves it for me is the showing of Ahmad Best. I think that's the thing that saves
Oh
it.
yeah. So I totally yeah. Ahmed Best playing the opening. I think the opening couple minutes is the best part.
Yeah.
You're right about that. Which is the fact that he plays a Jedi who saves Grogu's life, and the fact is that what happened to Ahmed all
Well,
these
it's such
years
a
for a lot
yeah,
of years is
yeah,
terrible. And to this day, Misa respect him
yeah.
very much,
For those of you who don't
and I
know,
mean that as, low key as a
yeah,
joke, but like legitimately, I've always loved, Jar
yeah,
Jar
he
Binks.
plays Jar
And I
Jar.
don't mean that as a joke. Like, I love Jar Jar, but they disrespected him. And obviously he almost, ended his life,
Yeah,
because of this hatred. And one thing we should say is that this ain't life or death. And a lot of Star Wars quote unquote fans, I call them I think they're haters more than
yeah,
fans at this point, is that if you love something, you will love it despite the issues you have
yeah,
with
yeah.
it. And what they did with Ahmed, what they do with certain episodes or stories, like they had the one show, I forgot what it was called. The live action show with the twins. I don't know if you watched it or not. With Manny from The Good Place.
The Acolyte
Yeah, it's the Acolyte. But the Acolyte had a different issue. The
had
Acolyte,
just bad
you could have
writing.
told that story in you could have wrote it in you could have told the same story in 3 hours, but they made it into 6, 8, whatever it was. And that doesn't mean that the action isn't good, the actors aren't
It could
good,
have served
all this
better as
stuff
a
isn't
movie as
good.
opposed to a series.
Because the problem was that they're doing all this like back and forth, replaying the same situation over and over. And it didn't help anything. There is one scene, if you've seen The
Mhm.
Acolyte, where Manny Jacinto's character, this man straight up, I think he murders like
Yeah,
15 Jedi, you know? And it is one of the most brutal things I've ever seen in Star Wars, and it is good. It is
yeah,
great. But yeah, it's just, you got to know what you're doing. And it gets frustrating when those sorts of things happen in Star Wars, but it doesn't also mean that you rage bait or rate, a show before it comes out because you don't agree with it or something like that. And that's what happened with that show. If you, go to the IMDb and look at the scores, like it was just, it's an outrage for no reason. And there's a lot of, like Captain Marvel and things like that. People get mad for no reason. I understand if the quality's bad, the story's bad, or something like that. But it's like saying The Last Jedi that Ryan Johnson hates Star Wars. That doesn't make
no,
any sense. The man literally ends with the best message of any Star Wars movie, in my opinion, besides A New
yeah,
Hope, which is it's the same feeling you get of Luke looking at the suns at the end of the
hmm
movie. Is that you see this kid who's sweeping, who is kind of probably has nothing, but he has the Force. And he looks to the stars with hope. And that's what Star Wars was. That's what Star Wars is. And if you don't see that, I don't know how you don't see that. People see, the fault, the mistake of is something that's bad. And I see that as Luke being human. And sometimes you make mistakes that you don't mean to make, and you kind of have to live with
yeah,
them. It doesn't mean you're any less of a hero. It just means you're a
yeah,
human. So, and we live in a time where you have Iron Mans, and Iron Mans are quote unquote Iron Mans, even though Iron Man is a flawed character and there's a whole reason why you love him. But people think we want unflawed characters. We need flawed characters because humans are
hmm
flawed. So, the Foundling, where are we put in this episode?
I think the only thing that's really gonna get it to go anywhere high or high-ish for me is probably the introduction of On My Best. So I'm gonna stick it
Yeah.
probably closer to the top of me.
Chapter 25, I'm going ahead. Chapter 20, The Pirate, directed by Peter Ramsey. I don't know if you know Peter Ramsey or not, but he's one of the 3 directors directed Into the Spider-Verse. Peter's a great voice online. Had the opportunity to speak with him a couple times. Just a cool dude, great work, great artist. Rise of the Guardians, if you haven't seen it, like 2010s, like kind of a sleeper animated movie. Like people don't give Rise of the Guardians enough credit, especially with that cast: Chris Pine, Hugh Jackman, etc. But this is a fun action episode to me. We're essentially going right back into what I love the most about the show is that Western vibe, where we're just essentially just in a town. We got some bad people. We got to deal with it. And that's pretty much what the most of this episode is. We do get a bit of some other stuff going on in this episode, but this episode is a lot of fun. Well, what is it for you?
It's fun. It's not, the best of Mando, but it is fun. Probably put it in bottom B.
But I'm gonna go mid B, just for me. Mid
That's
B
fine.
for me, because it still hits. It still hits that tone for me. That I love for the show. But you're right that we really don't get a lot of it. There's a lot of plot going on season 3. A lot of like we're connecting this to this to this to this, and for me, that's some of the problem I have with like a Game of Thrones, which I know it's great, but like I'm getting confused. That's all it is. Like y'all remember this person from yay seasons ago in this one random episode. I'm like, nope, I don't actually. Okay, so this is that episode. Anybody listening, watching, chapter 22, Guns for Hire, Bryce Dallas Howard. We love her. But this episode, we have Jack Black. No, we literally Jack Black, Lizzo, and the Christopher Lloyd show up in this episode. As soon as Christopher Lloyd showed up, I was like, oh yeah, he's the villain. Okay. This is an episode that comes out of like a Star Wars Rebels vibe to me, but I don't think it sells the tone correctly. I think the tone is kind of all over the place. And then by the time you get to the end of the episode and you have like some real juice going on, then, the end of the episode kind of just ends to me, because we're dealing with ultimately coming to this planet, trying to figure out, the situation there. And it's all about the Darksaber and bow, right? And Darksaber and bow, we only get to that essentially, like truly, we only get to it at the end of the episode. We do have some fun stuff in there about like, separatist droids and all this, like, if you are a fan of Star Wars, you have fun with it, but it's not that I'm looking always for plot, but I'm also looking for relevance, emotion. And there isn't any there. It felt like we're watching CSI, and CSI is good, but this show is not CSI.
Well, I think I get what you're saying, but I think the majority of that reason is because Jack Black and Lizzo are in there, and they feel so out of place. They don't feel like they'll feel
but
like
even then, recast them.
Yeah, the thing is, they're
I
already
would still
done.
feel the same way.
Right, but no, I think if you were to put somebody else in that position, someone who isn't Jack Black or isn't Lizzo, it'll be better.
More serious.
Yeah, it'd be better.
You could name pretty much any level of actor, just randomly, like you want someone not jokey in a sense.
Well, I mean, Bill Burr is jokey,
right?
but the thing is, like, he is.
No, he ain't jokey.
Well, no, he is.
He's got character.
Yeah, he has character. He's
even
not
in his comedy.
Yeah,
he's got
he's
character.
not like playing it up, hamming it up.
Yeah. Oh, you're right about that.
That's the thing is like
you're 100%.
Jack Black is off.
The performances are hammy.
Yeah, it's a very hokey performance. It is very much a character.
Yeah.
It's more Jack Black is the character in the show.
Yeah, that's true. And whenever Jack Black acts, when he's actually acting Kung Fu Panda School Rock.
Not only that, but High Fidelity. Like, if we got more of a High Fidelity Jack Black as opposed to a Minecraft Jack Black, like we did in this episode, then it would be better. But we didn't get that.
Yeah. You 100% right about that.
So
You
for
ain't
me, it's
wrong
like
about
bottom
that
of
at all.
C, if not top of D.
Can we? I'm
Yeah, go
putting
for it.
D. I'm putting D. And it's the only. I think it's the only episode this entire show that's
Like,
a
yeah,
D because the intention was
yeah,
incorrect.
and
Usually, like there's episodes in the show where the intention is good and it gets
yeah.
lost, but
Well,
that's not this. I
no
don't think it is.
disrespect to Jack Black and Lizzo, but the thing is, like, it feels like they don't belong based on the way that they wrote them into the series.
True. That's true. They feel like they sometimes that's the thing about episode 5, the gunslinger. It feels like the kid in the
Yeah,
episode is you took him from real life and dropped him into this world. He doesn't feel of that world. He feels of our world. And there's something about character that it feels disingenuous. It doesn't feel
no,
real. It feels
yeah,
fake. Even though this is a fake world and all this, the emotion is fake. And that it messes with people, you know? It's like we talk about, we were I was telling you about this essay, a video essay I'm doing right now. And you talk about like Michael
mhm,
Jackson, that movie,
yeah,
Michael. The emotion of that movie is
mhm,
genuine. It works for audiences. It doesn't work for people who look at it critically,
yeah,
you know? And there's something to be said about that. So, yeah, but this episode right here is not
yeah,
that, you know? It's not working on the intention, it's not working on the audience
mm-mm.
either. So, and in that's even though despite you have amazing actors, amazing talent, amazing everything. You got the money, you got the people, you got everybody there.
Just doesn't
But
fit.
just did not work. So, but on the opposite side of that, the back 2 episodes are directed by Rick Famuyiwa. The Spies, chapter 23, directed by Rick, written by Dave
Mhm,
Filoni and John. And this episode, we see Katie O'Brien coming
mhm,
back, and we know that she's the one working for Moff Gideon. She's in the bad guys. And we, a little bit of Hux in there, a little bit of Thrawn. We're getting little bits of the live action, the books, and everything, or the shows. Everything's coming together in a sense in this episode,
yeah,
narratively. But we essentially find ourselves in a bit more action. IG-11, IG-12, I don't remember. There's some stuff going
yeah, I
on
think it's
there.
12.
And we have some action with some actual heft because these stormtroopers have
Mhm,
Beskar, right? You don't really see that. And we see the fact that Gideon, he's back, he's meaner, and he's like, you really want to mess with me? Let's fight it out, right? And we essentially I feel like it's another, half like, part 1, part 2, like finale. And Paz Vizsla, played by John Favreau, he essentially, sacrifices himself to the Praetorian guards that are there to save everybody else. And it's noble. We get a lot of sauce in this episode. I think we had a good time
oh
in
yeah,
this episode. Like this feels like for all the plot pieces, this is finally a
yeah,
plot payoff in this episode. And you see what they're going for this season, right? Finally in this episode. And it feels you like we were talking about, like that episode with Pershing, right? We see Kane's character, we see Katie O'Brien again in this episode, but it never feels like we needed that episode before
yeah.
this. But yeah, I had a great time with this episode. What
I
was it for
enjoyed
you?
this, and it was kind of like that. By the time the episode ended, I finally got that feeling of like, oh, this is ending now. Like we're finally
Yeah,
like it finally got to the point where I was like, oh damn, like we're almost done with this.
where are we putting this one?
Probably top of B, bottom of A.
Top of B. Yeah, that's good. All right, I'll put it at the bottom of A. They came back with something this
Yeah,
episode,
yeah.
finally. And obviously the last episode, The Return, chapter
Mhm.
24. As of now, technically the series finale, technically for now.
Technically,
We'll see what happens with the movie. But this episode, Rick directed, John wrote it. And, we're on the Moff Gideon base still. All this stuff's happening in the base. We get a lot of action. Grogu comes in for, a little bit of moment in there. We see a lot of moments where our characters, like, are they about to kill somebody?
Mhm.
We're in that sort of area, action story wise. And we have a pretty much all-out war between the Mandos and the Stormtroopers, and it is the sauce. We, I was like, "Are y'all really gonna kill Bo?" I was like, "Y'all can't kill
Yeah.
Bo," you know? And I think they end up. We see enough of stuff happening. Gideon, he gets what he deserves finally, and we see Grogu finally come into his own in a big way. I thought, in this
Yeah.
episode, and we see what might happen later with some characters, but we essentially end up with, you know, Grogu and Mando just kind of resting now. They're not really doing anything. The Darksaber's gone, destroyed, which I don't know how I feel about that. I think it's not a bad thing, that it's gone, but it's also like, you know, this is not the thing that leads to what a true leader is for
Yeah.
Mandalore, right? But, there's a path forward within that, and I don't know if they're gonna take it anywhere, if they should take it anywhere,
Yeah.
you know? So what do you think of this episode? What do you think of this as being maybe a series finale, maybe not?
It didn't feel like a series finale to me. It felt more
Same.
like a season finale, which I finished this up not too long ago, maybe last month. And I was like, you know, it felt like, okay, I'm just waiting for season 4, but obviously we're getting the movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know like where they're going to take it, but I felt that they
Yeah.
definitely could have taken it further. I think a lot of that had to do with Pedro Pascal's just immense schedule, even being
Oh, so
in
we
the
didn't
booth.
bro, when it comes to when it comes to 2 and 3, bro is he's not really even in the
No,
costume
he's not.
anymore. He comes in on
Season
maybe
2.
the episode The Believer. He maybe comes in there, but that's about it. Like, shout out to Lateef Crowder,
Mhm.
Brendan Wayne. Those are the guys, I believe, in my bones. Those are the guys who are actually
Yeah, of
Mando.
course.
The grandson of John Wayne and Lateef Crowder, these two guys, the work that they've done physically through all 3 seasons is unsung, and they is not
Yeah.
commended enough, because the fact is that Mando is not he's an
Mhm.
entity, more than a human
Yeah.
at times. And to give off a physical presence without a face, what uh what Tom Hardy does with his eyes and all of his
Yeah.
roles, we kind of joke about him wearing a mask a lot, but it's not an easy thing to give off a physical presence, and they're all doing it together. It's a unity. So I gotta give them their commendation because it's well deserved, even though they don't get their credit. They get their paychecks, but they don't
Yeah.
get their credit.
Very much so.
I'd argue that they should get a bigger paycheck because they're literally playing your lead character, and they're doing the action on
Yeah.
top of it. So, and I mean, see, I think that's kind of the genius of the show also, right? That Pedro can go and do what he wants to
Mhm.
do, and we're not saying that's a bad thing, I'm glad we have Pedro out there, but it also means that we could still run this show and do all this stuff, and he doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
need to be there. And I think it'll be something interesting to see, was he there the whole time for the movie?
That I don't.
Is there a difference in the physicality, the acting, the performance? Is there actually a difference there? And I don't think there will be. I think knowing who these people are, what they do, I think Lateef and Brendan were just as much there doing their thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm excited to see them more than I am Pedro, honestly, even though Pedro gives a great performance, like this is a collective, performance that deserves more credit. So where are we putting this return?
Top of C, bottom of B.
I'll put it like, I'll put it a little bit. I'll put
Okay.
mid B. How about that? Look mid B. I think you have the action and the character moments and the payoffs. They're there, but like you said, it's also compared to the last 4 for me, the last 4 episodes of season 2, the last 2 episodes of season 1. It's not that, it's not that level. Even though it has that level of like plot, it doesn't have that level of emotion to me, if that makes sense. And like I told you, I think I enjoy almost out of 24 episodes, I enjoy at least 21, 22 of these episodes
Mhm.
really well.
Yeah.
You know? And if I had to skip them, I might skip maybe 5 episodes max. And even then, I'd probably watch them because they're not that
Yeah.
long. And,
You can breeze through them pretty
the
quick.
show was never meant to be like a definitive format of like, an hour or 30 minutes. They've always had latitude and they've always done the story they want to
Yeah.
tell, and what do you do when you get carte blanche from or Kate Blanchett, as I say, from Disney, and you see what he
Yeah.
did. You see what he did with Tony Gilroy did with
Mhm.
Andor. These are very special projects. Right now, there's a Darth Maul series,
I was talking
Shadow
about
Lord, that's out right now. People are eating it up. I know my brother and my buddy Will. They're all watching it. They're all loving it. I'm like, I've seen the first episode. I'm gonna catch up later. Because we were prepping for this one. But no, so here's the real Star Wars conversation now. The movie's coming out. Are you excited for it? This is the first movie in like 7 years. I love all the stuff I get on TV when it comes to The Mandalorian, Andor, Rebels, Shadow Lord, Bad Batch, Ahsoka. I love the characters and all that, but there's just a bunch of the adaptation there is a little off for me at times emotionally. But what do you think? I think that we have a lot of Star Wars TV that's given us a lot of love for Star Wars, but I want to see Star Wars in the cinema more and more.
Of course.
We've got that Sean Levy, Last Starfighter, Ryan Gosling. It's gonna be a fun time, but like we severely need more movies from this franchise, and I think they took the wrong lessons from the trilogy that they made. They, number one, didn't take enough time to make the trilogy plan wise, but then they just stopped everything, canceled everything, delayed everything, and that doesn't, like, just because you took an L doesn't mean you stop doing what you're doing, and I don't think that just because you're churning out all these shows doesn't mean that, we don't need movies. We still need movies, and I think the movie is not tracking as well as it should, this
Yeah.
movie. So
I don't really care how it tracks
does
right
that say
now,
something?
'cause that to me, like, sure, whatever, people have their opinions before it hits the masses, but, like, I'd
Yeah.
rather wait until it does hit the masses because that's ultimately who it's for. I don't know if they are Star Wars fans.
Oh, no, not review, but like tracking, meaning
Yeah, I
like
know
money
that, but I mean,
wise.
I don't
Yeah.
care what the box office is. I really don't.
I think the interesting thing is, I mean, I care for the sense, like, me, like, I think about the numbers because I want this to sustain. I want this to keep going in that
Yeah.
sense, And Seth Vargas,
Mhm.
Movie Friends. I think his take on it, if he was here, would be like, boo-hoo, they lost
Yeah.
some money. It's a billion-dollar, multi-billion
Oh,
dollar
yeah,
company.
it's a massive
Yeah,
company.
he's
Who
right.
cares?
But it's like, I just want, I want to make sure that it's just a viable thing, that we still see things in the movies.
Yeah.
That's all. And it's not for them,
Yeah,
it's for us.
it's for the fans
in that
of
sense.
Mando.
But I think Sean has made a career out of continuously using these things and bringing a perspective to them and revitalizing them to, to audiences, to a connection that I don't think John gets enough credit, for what he does. And I am excited for this movie. I think the only true fumble he's ever had, to me, was Lion
Yeah.
King. And I only say that because you can juxtapose Lion King with the newly released Sheep Detectives. And you can be like, oh, this is how we do, how do we emote, how do we have emotions for, animal characters. And talk about that with Grogu. I think he learned his lesson to some extent, because I think Grogu is such a emotive character, and his story happens without you. He and Mando both have a lot of story happening without them talking. And we still feel those emotions with them. And they use every trick in the book to do that. It just felt like they didn't use those tricks they used it in Jungle Book, but they didn't use it in Lion King. But that's a whole other conversation, right? But yeah, I'm excited to see Mandalorian, Grogu. I think personally that the movie's not going to get great reviews, because I don't think people understand, I'm not dunking on critics, but like, I just don't think they understand what Star Wars is at times. And I think the movie's gonna be a whole lot of fun. I think episode wise, if we put the movie on this tier list, I think it's gonna be in the
Probably.
B. It might be an A, but I think it'll be a B. It's not gonna be low. It's not gonna be super
Yeah.
high. I would love for it to be S tier,
Yeah.
you know? But you know what I'd argue? I'd argue that Rick would have to write and direct the movie for it to be S, you know? And I didn't expect the only two S's to be from Rick, but they're 150% the ones that deserve to be there, you know? So I'm glad with where we ended up
Yeah.
with it. Because it's like we have a lot of A, we had a lot of B, you know? But, you know, S is S tier, like we live for those moments, you know, and not every show. I mean, like, not I think every show has a few. They don't have a lot, but you know, depends.
Yeah.
So this is the first one. I think we'll be back doing more of these. I think this was an easy one to do because it's not a lot, you know? 24 episodes is a lot, but it's not like, you know, it's not like every other like longer show or anything like that. This is the most prep we've done for an episode, I think, besides
Yeah.
Psych. Psych, you know, I watched the whole series, but then again, I already do that, you know? So yeah. We down with the Mando, we down with the Grogu. So what's next? I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. I should say like and subscribe or something like that. I don't know.
Stay tuned for more.
Hit the
Yeah.
thumbs up. No, notification
Yeah.
icon.
You know, the social
But-
media stuff.
Yeah, but you can find Drake. I'll have everything linked
Yeah.
below for the first watch
Mhm.
pod. We've done plenty of episodes and always more to come, more happening
Yeah.
always. But yeah, we will see y'all when we see you. I'm glad Drake was
Yeah.
back on. We had a great time talking about Star Wars. You know, it wasn't, see, I think that Star Wars conversation can get negative very fast
Yeah.
online and with people because people, they have like super opinion. They don't have opinions. They have
Yeah.
super opinions. See, there's some conversations to be had, you know, a tense conversation to be had, but not for this one. You know, this one, I think, you know, I think Mando is still a top 3 Star Wars show
Yeah.
for me, even though they have at least like 5
Yeah.
good ones. It's still like one of my favorites. So I'm excited to see the
Yep.
movie. I hope everyone runs to IMAX, runs to the biggest screen they can go to if they can go to one. Take your kids, take everybody, go see a fun movie because Jon Favreau, he knows how to deliver that stuff. So yeah, big ups to the big man. Peace and
Peace and
love.
love.
We'll be
Till
back
there.
later.
Bye.
Bye.